Yes.
Right. Painful, it's still fun. And how do I get that to us? No,
Change the view up top. Up to the right where it says view on the top
There you
ribbon, yep.
Gallery. That'll work.
Oh, sure, that'll work, whatever. It'll change if more people come on.
That's right.
Good job, Andy.
A month or more. Okay, well, call the meeting of the Emergency Services Facilities Building Committee called to order at 6:45 PM. President are Marco, Tulis, Snyder, McCoo, Knight, Yankowski, Letitia, Danton. Not Letitia. What?
Oh, he is, right there. You've been so quiet, Pete.
Different location.
Yeah. See that?
And that's who's there, so. And do we have to seat anybody for anybody?
No,
No.
no, we have full complement of
All right.
the hill department here, so,
All right.
you know, this thing changed.
Next would be approval of minutes, item 3A, approval of minutes from 27 February.
Make a motion to approve?
Motion has been approved
A second.
and seconded by Ralph. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed, abstentions? Okay, it's unanimous.
Shouldn't, you're down one for Wellington one, right? Should we be seating?
Oh, that's what I was saying. Should we, do we need to seat somebody? Do we need to seat, James?
No,
Oh, because you don't have your alternate?
I don't have, no, they, all three are tied up with TN.
Okay.
yes, Stu's an alternate for Wellington
All right,
one,
yeah.
James is an alternate for Wellington Hill.
Yes, sorry. Yep,
So we wouldn't seat James,
We wouldn't seat.
yes, got it.
Here.
Yeah, no,
All right.
absolutely right.
but we're glad to have him here.
We're glad to have you here.
I was thinking about it too academically, like,
I know,
not a gap.
I know.
We have to fill the gap.
We have to fill, right, we have to vote, right, we gotta seat everybody for everybody. All right, present to speak, is there anybody, that would like to speak? Public participation is desired and encouraged. Speakers will be limited to time and appropriateness of comments to maintain progress, stay on topic and maintain decorum. Is there anybody that is here to speak? No, I'm hearing none. I don't see anybody online or anybody here in the building. New business, review progress on data requested by Fitch and Associates. Ralph, you want to take the lead on this? You've been-
Well, I'll try. I
you've
did
been,
a
doing
summary
some diligence.
as best I could from the email that was sent to Andy and I. As far as all the information that Fitch is looking for. I put that in the table, so hopefully you guys know where you stand on things. I went into their folder online. I got overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Cause there's just a lot of stuff there.
Now, is that their folder? Cause the only thing I can see is my folder.
I don't know whether he's got, you know, the two departments completely isolated from each
Yeah,
other
yeah.
or not. I
It
can,
looks that way.
So you can see everything?
I can see everything, I think, but
Did you see stuff from both departments?
I just like two folders, yes.
Okay.
One for
So
the
you
hill,
must have folder access and he has the, like, the next
Yeah,
level
yeah,
of access.
probably, that's what I would
Which we should
expect.
all, we discussed, we should all have that access, so we know what, I don't know what Alex has submitted.
Everything's submitted. I talked to Alex this evening before I came. They acknowledged receipt of everything, so thank you.
Okay, there's still some, local response data that he was looking for.
He got it, there was talk about it last night with Alex, I spoke with him quick, and he sent it last night or early this morning. He said they thought they sent it and ended up not going through, so they were gonna send it last night or this morning.
Okay, now Steve was supposed to be having a phone conference with ISO
And so,
today.
Yeah.
This afternoon, and I haven't heard back from that one. Cause I've been reaching out to him and trying
Yeah.
to figure out where we stand on things.
a lot of people are asking questions, so we wanna be able to speak to that. Leonard, did I hear you say, do you think everyone should have access to both folders? Do you think that would be beneficial?
Yeah, I
Okay.
thought that's what we discussed.
Yeah, that's fine, I don't,
Really,
makes sense to me.
I mean, for us to be on this board, we wanna be transparent.
Right, no, absolutely right, yeah, makes sense. There's, if
It's not a public link.
there's compartments in there, that's. within
Yeah,
that
it
level,
looks like
so
at this point, like I
You
said, I
can
can
break those
see,
down,
I got a folder, I can see what I put in there.
well, you can't see.
But I can't see what
Okay.
Alex, and I don't know if he can see what I put in there or
I
not.
think Andy and I can access anything.
Right.
But the departments are restricted to their own folders.
Let's see if we can open that up a little bit for the committee members and.
It's an effort, you know, trying not to duplicate efforts, because I know they asked for that 138 page spreadsheet that you've seen on there probably. And again, Alex put it together and put it on there. And I did not, because he did. And it was
Yeah.
for both departments, but I would like to see that, you know, that it's on there and that
Yeah,
information.
so in other words, it might be beneficial if there was a hill, number one, and joint.
Well, the whole thing could be joint.
The whole thing could be joined, why not?
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
You know, we'll talk to them, we'll talk to them about it.
I'll talk to Steve.
Yeah, we'll
Right.
what
and
we-
see whether,
or at
just
least
that-
give us read access.
yeah, just access to.
Right,
Yeah,
no,
we
right,
don't-
whatever's
right, you don't have to put stuff in there.
It doesn't have to be, yeah,
Right.
it doesn't have to be a separate joint file, just access.
Right, so you know what's in there, it makes perfect sense to that.
Cause Ralph, when you say everything, it was overwhelming, there was so much information by who? You
I
know,
was just looking at the, and I think it was your folder.
yeah, I mean, I know I
And
submitted a
there's a
lot.
full screen where the icons there.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of documentation that I put in there, you know, which covers most of this, I believe,
That's good.
I think so, yeah.
but again, you know.
All right, that's cool, so we'll talk to Steve and see what he can do to open up that, so everybody can see, what's
You're
in there,
okay with that?
read only access to the folders. But if you
It
can't
would
mess,
be particularly helpful for the members of this committee who are
Yes.
not already fire service subject matter
Right, right,
experts to be able to see all that, to
Absolutely.
look at all that information.
Absolutely. I totally agree. All right, and, that's good, because we've been getting, I get questions, it's a standing item on the, Board of Selectmen agenda for status, and I've just been saying, still waiting, so we would like to be able to report out something that.
Right.
What's going on, it would, I think it would, it certainly came up in the budget discussion quite a bit about bonding and. I mean, over and over again, we're gonna need 15 million for a new firehouse, and I don't know where that number came from, I don't mind that number.
Good start.
But it's a great talking point, because you say it often enough that people get so used to it, they go, yeah, we always expect.
Yeah,
that."
whatever.
And it's no big deal anymore, so it doesn't, there's nothing wrong with saying it, but it
I
gets,
think that estimate was created on CIP.
I think so, I think it's a CIP item, but I don't
Yeah, just,
see it anywhere in CIP, but it's certainly a talking
How we
point.
get in this?
So it's showing in later years as bonding.
Yeah, I just don't, when I look at the CIP, I have, that document, it's always baffling to me.
Join the club.
Yeah.
Just to review what we just talked about here. Number one question, are the folders isolated from each other?
Right.
Can they establish read access
Yeah.
for the hill? to
Everybody, well, for everybody.
Want to look at
To
the
be able
hill,
to see,
yeah,
everyone on the committee should be able to see.
And
all
that's the other-
submitted.
Right,
and that's the other item, read access for all the committee members.
right.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
that's certainly fair.
Okay. I will communicate with Steve on that
okay.
and get that squared away. Mike and I were talking last night at the wonderful Board of Finance meeting. Which Tom missed.
Yeah.
How's Nicole?
No, darling, no, she's all right, she's doing okay, not feeling well.
Mike, you had the primary conversation with Mr. D'Amato.
It was a conversation about the grant we've been talking about for quite a while that had. Was pretty much awarded. I don't know that we were at 100% sure, but it was looking very good. That Wellington was going to be a recipient of a grant, that was originally,
Federal, wasn't it?
what?
Federal grants?
Federal.
Yeah, well, it came through the state, but it was federal funding.
Okay,
And, we've been talking about that same grant for months and months now.
Right,
Because of the defund from the federal government, that is one of the things that got defunded. The state reps who have been in communication as sort of the coordinators with Mike D'Amato, because he filled out the application. Contacted him, said that what the state is looking to do right now is give people the option to resubmit for either a restoration of funds or potentially the next fiscal year. So there's some unknowns, as we know, in what's happening in Washington with changes.
right.
And so basically what they're saying is, all right, the program got dumped. But you're allowed to essentially reapply if it's the same thing. And you have a little bit of latitude to modify. So that should be something right now that we're thinking about. Mike would want guidance on if we just put it back in exactly as it was, or if we modify it a little bit. I think we probably, if we were gonna provide guidance on that, we probably should see the documents. I may have them in an email somewhere, I'm not sure. And that way we could decide if anything needs to be tweaked. But as long as we stay within the parameters, the basic parameters of what was put in before, they should be able to essentially put it right back into the system again, and if it gets funding, it would be at the same level of approval it was before.
And the only thing is to be careful and not be too specific.
Right.
Yes, yes. To be, and that was part of the thing about where they said you're allowed to modify to a certain extent. The hint was to remove anything restrictive that doesn't change in a huge way. So that depending what money becomes available, if it's a reduced amount or whatever, or if our process here steers us in a certain direction, then it's applicable. We can make the best use of it.
Okay.
And I think that guy, I can't remember which, if that was from. I can't remember whose office that came from, if it was Courtney's office or what.
Bloom was there, yeah, it was.
Yeah, I can't remember whose office.
What's the label for that grant? Like, you recall?
I don't. Well, wait, hang on, I have it in email.
I think the only restriction would have been that if they could reference station 13
Well,
prominently.
it was,
And
no, Mike said it did not have like a street address or anything.
No, it didn't have a street address, you're right about that.
I
didn't mention-
the same thing, Andy.
It didn't mention-
Space Station 13
Yeah.
specific.
Right, so if we said stations and just took out the number 13, and it did mention, control center, an emergency service center,
Emergency operations.
emergency operations center, that was,
That is what it is now, so that makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah,
And then that was part of that was part of the language within that.
I don't think we want to change it as little as possible to increase the possibility of
Well, right.
issue.
Yeah, we don't want to get.
We could broaden it a little bit to give us more flexibility since. The numbers aren't as critical right now.
Just to backtrack, I checked with Alex, he can only read bullet one, he can't see the hills.
Okay.
Okay. And that's,
I'll talk with Steve and
yeah,
try to get that.
well, I can't see that, so I mean, it's our product, we can do whatever we want with it.
So
You can't really say.
the title of the grant is the fiscal year 25 CDS.
See,
CDS.
C Charlie, D David, S Sam.
okay. I'd like to come on up and see if they can enlighten me a little bit more.
I have that, we have that in our packet, I have that grant, I don't have it in front of me.
That CDS means Congressionally Directed Spending Awards, apparently. Offices of Senators Blumenthal and Murphy plan to push for the projects that were included. We brought back in.
Senate.
Proactively allowing you to update your application and resubmit for Senate Appropriation Committee's consideration.
Their timeline,
And I'm skimming through. Please note that resubmission is not a guarantee for funding. Committee
hasn't been.
may change eligibility requirements or general guidance in the new program. We will make you aware of any changes as early as we can. There are currently no deadlines. However, we encourage you to resubmit as soon as you're able. Please note the deadlines on OAM are arbitrary.
Yeah, Mike is savvy enough. Tomato.
Yeah,
Tomato's
he
savvy
said
enough.
last night, it's not a rush.
No.
It should be reasonable, but it's not a rush. So he's looking for us to, you know,
Yeah.
deliberate a little bit.
I think if we could just say, take any specific station, location, language out. And have the money applied to our endeavor here. To increase emergency services as a whole, along with the emergency ops center. That would be fine. I mean, I think he's
Yeah, I think we just need a
knowledgeable enough to.
little bit of discretion once we get the location study. Kind of-
Well, that's what I'm saying.
So maybe one of you chairman type people could reach out to Mike and ask for the specific language that's in it right now.
Yeah.
So that we can debate if it needs tweaking.
Okay.
I'll resend it to everybody, because I know I have that on my computer at home. And, we can. Take a look at what's on there, I don't remember,
Okay.
it was fairly broad, but I think. there was-
time ago.
Yeah, me too, I read it a while ago.
Other than that. I don't think there's much else that we can really tackle tonight.
Not too much,
I think as far as public outreach, let's let the dust clear on the budget.
yes,
Yeah. We don't have strong, like, unique information to give right now anyway.
not yet.
No.
But,
No.
Right.
I do strongly encourage us to get out as early as we can, particularly since this. Several people throughout these budget discussions mentioned a new school and a new firehouse.
Yes.
So it's on people's minds, which I think is a positive. That's
Absolutely.
a good thing. The more, some, you know, it's like wearing new clothes, you gotta get used to them. So, people are aware of that. So once, as Ralph said, once the dust settles as to what we're actually going to have to spend.
Well, the thing is, if this budget doesn't pass. then We'll go through another cycle.
There will be a budget of some kind.
Well,
We will be
yes, there
spending
will, it's the
something.
question of when.
Well, for whatever that dust is, we'll wait for that to settle, I think. So it might be June or July, July 1 will be.
Over it sooner.
No, I mean, before we talk about it, I mean, before we come out with some sort of public coverage.
We'll get
It might be
information
over.
back and all that.
Was that?
We'll get information back.
Yeah, right, well, right, the more we, and that's what Ralph and I both sent emails to say, look, we need to speak to. There's other stakeholders, there's boards of finance, there's boards of selectmen, there's.
Right.
Capital improvement people that are very curious about what the direction, the trajectory is for this. And the more talking points and progress we can give them, the better. But I'd like to make the public aware of it at the same time. I'm a strong advocate in getting out in front of the townspeople through whatever methods we have. Web pages, Everclear, whatever, Everbridge, whatever that new phone thing is. That Peter's been working on for years now, or well, since he started and started before that.
No.
Which is a good system, I think, from what I've seen of it, so. I think the more we can get out in front of people to, and I mean, if we stumble along the way, I don't think we have to be 100%. Accurate about the future, we have to just simply say what we're doing and where we're at. People will understand if it goes a different direction. I don't think we have to think that we have to be perfect. With some sort of prescience about the future. I don't think we have to be that way, just, hey, so what's going on? You know what we know now, and let's talk about it. I think that's okay.
Couple of questions for right now. The call data, we got that for the Hill last time we met. Did our consultant Fitch get that? And did he get it for the other department that we didn't get?
Yes, he did.
So he has both?
I believe you.
Oh, can we get a copy of both?
But we get
Well, if he has
access
access.
to the folder,
then-
everything will be there. Cause that's in that
Oh, it's in
folder.
the folder, it's that voluminous, okay.
It's on the Fitch website, so.
Oh, so once we get the link.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
that's
okay,
what,
okay.
yeah.
You got a copy of the call data last week.
I did, for one.
For Wellington.
For one, I do, no, that was great, I was looking for the other departments and, trying to understand, and I was also looking for those. Truck lists or equipment lists, is that also in the folder
Yes,
for both departments? Okay, so it's all about the folder, got it.
So if we have access to the Fitch folder, we'll have everything that but I think that's important, I think we should have access. We should have everything that Fitch has.
But he has it all,
Yeah,
so
that's great.
nothing's holding him up right now.
I don't believe so at this point.
So what's his timeline for this site thing?
He's done.
You gotta digest it.
A lot of
Any
data.
clue, no, like, no,
Not at this point, no,
yeah, just commenting on what Andy was just saying. The school project is moving at a different pace than our project. And that concerns.
Well,
me.
Fitch did indicate that once he had the data, the most he saw was 4 months, right? Isn't that what he said? Once he had the data,
I
the
think that-
farthest out he thought would be 4 months, so that'd be the end of July.
yeah, I don't
Oh.
think it's even gonna take that long.
Oh, well, that's encouraging, okay.
And the other thing is, the school's gotta go through another step that we don't have to go through. And that is the state of Connecticut,
True, yeah.
with respect to the design and
Yeah,
the ed
it's
specs and all that other happy.
a very different process, yeah.
Mhm.
So
So,
we can pick up speed there while they're,
while they're debating that, yeah.
sounds good though.
Well, speaking of picking up speed, what is everybody's feeling about like, clerk of the works or what are the words, OPMs or what sort of things might we have to react to
I was
quickly
just thinking about that.
about, if let's whatever it is, if the. To me, there's sort of two courses of actions, there's rebuild what we have in the places we have them. Or acquire property and build it somewhere completely different, or build it on someplace that the town already owns property. Or somebody owns property that's not encumbered by residential, or any restrictions, so there's three courses of actions there. Regardless, no matter which way that goes, some things will be constants. Like,
Now, I started a draft of, RFP for, OPM,
okay,
like you've been through that before. I picked up on, I found one that was, I thought was a very good format.
Yeah,
okay. And it has has a point structure to evaluating proposals.
Yeah, and we can take lessons learned from the
SBC,
well, the SBC and even from our RFP to get Fitch.
sure,
We've got a lot of the correct language in our RFP for Fitch about, like, that sets the framework of the Wellington part of it.
okay,
yeah, well, I'll compare that to what I've been working on.
Yeah.
And,
That's the kind of thing that we could have a draft together fairly quickly.
I
It's
think
just
it
a
would be
matter
wise
of
for
getting
us
it
to
to the. We can't debate it and finalize it until we have some idea of what direction the study is gonna point us in. As you pointed out, if the study says things look great in the current locations, the most cost-effective way is to do this, and this
Right.
renovation.
right.
Then the ask for the owner's project manager may be different,
Mhm.
because it's gonna be managing design and construction of 3 smaller projects, if
Correct.
that's the case.
That's right. But-
Versus, it
front
might
end.
be a complete new station, which might be a different contracting process, it might be a design build, maybe,
Mhm.
or whatever.
we can kind of segregate that, which is what I think the original intent was with the, RFP for Fitch. A separate document that described the project.
Right. The scope of work document that
scope of
didn't end
work.
up going out with the RFP.
And
Yes, that was the purpose.
if we can do the same thing, is just that document, that part of the whole thing is going to change depending on the final outcome with the study.
That's true. If the RFP was a little more generic,
Correct.
it would refer to the scope of work, which would be driven by the result of the study and our debate
Exactly.
about the results of the study.
Okay, I'll try and wrap that. I've been tweaking the language to get it away from the source and tailor to Wellington, so.
Yeah, if we could get the front end, at least an outline established early, that would be beneficial, I think.
You have our other, you have the RFP and the scope of work you have in a Word document, so you can manipulate it. right?
I have it in some form, yeah. It doesn't matter what form it's in, I can make it work.
thinking about communication, an OPM and a clerk of the works, kind of the same language, or are they the same?
No, because
Well,
OPM,
we need two, or we need?
no, an OPM could do clerk of the works, but an OPM will potentially do more than that. An OPM may help you acquire design,
Okay,
and select contractors, all that, whereas a clerk of the works would more likely come in once the contractor's
Once the
bid,
gotcha.
and would only focus on assuring the
Just-
construction got done to a certain
Based on a certain
standard or
plan.
specification.
So if we're looking for an OPM, that's probably, if we're speaking with any of us talking to the public, we should say that's what we're looking for. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, you would be looking
Because
for
we're gonna be
owner's project
communicating no matter
manager.
what. We're gonna be having coffee or doing something, we're talking to people in town. And I guess if we all say we're looking for an OPM, which is you said an
Owner's project manager.
owner's project manager, so they would be working for us.
Right, and they would potentially be a clerk of the works also,
Yep.
or have a clerk of the
That's
works
fine.
working for them.
People that know what an OPM is will get it, right? But at least if we're saying the same thing, I think that helps.
Yeah, clerk of the works is basically going to be there to make sure the work is done in accordance with whatever documents the
Right.
project was
Yeah.
bid by.
LPM will do
Right,
all that.
it's also sometimes called a field engineer,
Field engineer,
or
okay.
construction engineer,
Yep,
even
yep.
though it may not actually be an engineer.
Yeah, I got you. No, that's good. So if we just start saying we are working on a draft for an OPM, that's a good thing to report about, and I'll just use that language and I'll be consistent with that. So that's good. And that's, and you can work on some of the language that is generic, that would be regardless of what direction it goes in, so. We have that down, so that's a positive. Very good. And, just. If someone could enlighten me that has more experience with this. How does it work with a bond like that? I mean, what is the process? Well, you were involved, both of you were involved in school, well, I was not, but when you talk about bond.
I feel like you would love to.
No.
Just a real quick, I mean, 2 minutes.
After the torture I went through once before, Mike, I don't
No,
know.
I mean, I don't even understand how that works. I mean,
Bonding?
what do you say? I was looking at the minutes for the school, and I just, the select, the select people got together and they said, we recommend doing this, $62 million for a school. And the Board of Finance said yes. And then it kind of there wasn't a whole lot of
Okay.
conversation, went to referendum and it got shot down and never went anywhere.
Yeah, I guess the best analogy, and Mike, you can jump in here if I'm wrong. If you have a project that's defined and you wanna build it. And you know you gotta bond it, the first thing you're gonna get is a construction loan. Construction loan. You're not gonna float that bond right off the bat.
So that's just so I understand, and this is. When I was looking at the minutes from the Board of Finance and the Board of, well, I believe it was the Board of Selectmen. They were, so that 62 million was to sort of get things going. To include a loan, and because there was no talk of reimbursement within those minutes. There wasn't really talk about that I saw. So that's what we're asking, that's whatever it is, you'd be asking the taxpayers to front some money. To get started, is that the construction part?
I think there might be if you,
There's a
I'm gonna
short-term
try to
loan.
oversimplify it,
Yeah,
what it
please do.
would be. Once you have an idea what the project's gonna cost,
Right,
then you get a short-term loan,
yep,
which gets you started.
okay.
And will take you through some phase of construction
Mhm.
to when. It's time for the thing to actually be at some level of complete.
Yep.
Turned over, at that point, you move from the construction loan into the bond, which is the
Okay.
mortgage.
Yeah, that's
your
what I was
mortgage,
gonna ask,
right?
is it
So
similar
you have
to
a
me?
construction loan and then a mortgage, in this case, you have a bond anticipation note maybe.
Yep, okay,
And then when you have the whole thing, you bond it
okay,
from there on.
so.
Broken down, the bond is reimbursing. The note,
Yeah, the note's temporary.
yes,
And
but as things progress, you don't get 62 million up front from a bond.
No, right, so is the analogy fair to say that if I'm in the house, I get a construction loan until I get a CO, then I can get a mortgage?
Yes.
It's,
So
yes,
that's a
oversimplified.
oversimplified, it's similar to that. right?
Yes, that,
That-
you're
that
right,
makes
that's what I
sense.
was trying to get at,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
the subtleties that will be. That can vary in the process is again, depending on what way you contract the process. May change where that line switches between various things.
Of course, right.
Some companies will. Are also in sort of the business part of the business,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Yep.
they'll offer to just. Set up the entire thing as a package, cause they're gonna
Sure.
make a little money off.
Cause
of
they're
the
gonna make a
loan,
little
too,
money off the loan.
Right, they're gonna package the loan and maybe design, build. all that
Right, and
together.
municipalities aren't homeowners, they have different fundings and
Right.
different,
And when you float up,
financial ratings and everything.
when you do bonding, you're basically writing a bond that investors are going to buy.
Right.
That's going to provide you with the money to do the project.
Mhm.
So somebody's gotta write the language that goes into that, and pay for that. It's not a freebie like it might be with a mortgage.
Yeah, it's like tens of thousands of dollars
Yeah.
in bond fees to.
Yes.
To get that substantial,
Yeah.
And that's what all the CIP talk about, investing in our future is about those.
Yes,
things.
when you hear the word investment, it means lots of money.
Yeah, it comes up a lot. Okay, thank you for those explanations, 'cause it helps me understand.
You know, you guys talk about this capital plan being complicated, it is. Well, I urge you to look at it. Because when you look at the parallel path of our project and the school project. The bonding hits the town simultaneously for both.
In the plan current.
In the current plan, yes,
Okay.
yes. Now, those plans always change, as Mike can tell you, having done the Board of Finance and being chair all those years, but. That's concerning to me. Because it's,
No, I think that's a case where we kind of gotta get a foot in the door first.
yeah,
Okay.
well, take a look at that, because it's,
Well, this is why the chairman of CIP has been badgering us to. Wants to see what do we got for a project,
Yeah, right,
what's it gonna cost, where does it fit into the CIP?
like, it's fitted in, but.
Yeah, what's the time
It's simultaneous,
right now? Yeah.
right now, right?
Right, well, that's, yeah. Fortunately, that's the case.
Okay,
All right,
what else we got? I don't think we got much else.
no, I think we kind of covered the big picture and emerging issues kind of in one conversation there, they're almost the same.
So just FYI, I was gonna bring it up and meeting got canceled last time. Just again, FYI to fill everybody in. 3 things, involving our department, 2 on CIP. 1 is the roof project for 24 Old Farms Road. Which I put in for $70,000. 1 is parking lot project for 24 Old Farms Road. Both of these are towards the old facility, 24 Old Farms Road. Again, just an FYI because it's facilities. I wanted to bring it up here. It looks like, well, right now, and obviously we don't know what's gonna happen, the parking lot is remaining because. Probably 5 years ago, we got approved for 35,000.
Yeah, right.
The money went through and was voted on and approved and all that, and has just been sitting there. But 35,000 was never enough to do the parking lot project, so, therefore, that's in there. The additional money is 65,000 to match to go along with that to equal 100,000 for the parking lot. Again, FYI, you guys can throw comments in on that, those 2 things. The third thing is, which you probably all heard about as well, is we had approved through the process and taxpayers voted to give us $110,000 to survey and progress on the property at 25 Old Farm Road. Which was going to get us to where we could verify that the property would take a building we're looking at, get drawings of a building on the property and get an estimate of what it would cost. So therefore, we could come up with a fairly accurate figure. The town encourages us to do that. It all got approved again, money's sitting there. Was never approved to, be handed out or given to be spent. This was developed instead because that's the way the town wanted to go, fine. that money's still there. I've been encouraged to release that money back to the town.
Yes, you had.
Which I went to the Board of Finance and hesitated to do, and where I left it is, I said I wasn't comfortable with releasing that money back to the town because of the time frame with the consultant that we are dealing with. And the uncertainties of what we have to deal with. So my thoughts are, and what I said to the Board of Finance is, this year, I don't wanna release that money back into the general fund of the town. Because I'd like to wait till we collectively, this committee, come up with some kind of direction and may possibly need it. Again, with the help of the consultant and stuff like that, so. As far as I know, that money is still there. I asked Donna not to release it to anybody and. So I did specify that if by any means, if the consultant and this committee decided that that money is not gonna be used for anything remotely close to what was given to us for. Then I'd be glad to turn it back into the general fund after we figure that out, which won't fall in this budget season.
Right.
It'll fall in next year's budget season, which should be fine. So, my department would like to see that money go towards another capital request of our department, if that's the case. But that's a bridge we'll have to cross later. But again, those three items, the roof, the parking lot, and that 110, I've been meaning to bring up, and I was gonna bring it up last time, we got canceled. All facilities related, and I want you guys on board with it, so. If you have comments, questions, concerns, or a better direction than what I've been taking with these things.
Is the paving in this year currently?
Yes, the paving is what's in there. The roof is, I believe, Peter, you got the plan in front of you. I believe the roof money is,
Year two.
Just for clarity, the paving is in the coming fiscal year 1 of the plan,
Is that 25, 26, or is that?
July.
starting July 1.
25,
25,
yes,
then.
yes.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
right.
The question I have about the paving. Is there a way, since we don't know where we're going. Would it make more sense to look at that as putting out some millings? Because what I've noticed with the library. They did the south parking area there with millings. And once you get some traffic on it, it binds together and it's no longer a pervious surface.
Yeah, millings do work as a temporary,
Well, and the only reason I'm suggesting that is if it looks like we're going forward with something on 25. Does it make sense to invest in pavement?
The hard part is the left side by like our kitchen area, the hall,
I understand.
that's our septic tank, leach field, all that.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of where it's caving in is around the top of the septic tank, so.
We've had rebar coming out of the parking lot, we've had the cot, I mean, it's,
and the problem with millings is they're not, yes, they do turn into a
They do
non-pervious.
bind.
Yes, they do bind and they do get pretty tough, but they're not solid as a.
No, I understand.
So driving on it with trucks and things like that is just gonna bind millings up, you know?
I just wanted to ask the question.
Yeah. And we have the hesitation of what do we do? Because again, if things go forward the way we'd like to see them go forward. And we move out of that building or, you know, potentially move out of that building. Do we let the property just go?
That's a good question. I was just.
Do we not? Again, it's facilities of the
Well,
town.
right,
but there's no guarantee either.
No, there's no guarantee.
I mean, you don't want to neglect the
You can't let
building.
it go.
This is one of the shortcomings that we had on SBC. And we had no plan for vacating the existing schools.
And that's
So
what I'm
you raised a
trying to
very
do.
good point.
That's a very
Trying to
good
do.
point.
Right, yes, and if something moves forward that consolidates everything at Hall, for example.
Right.
Then that the department property plus the school property. Could be divested completely.
Yeah,
And
again,
maybe even
Yeah,
help
this is one of those, this is one of those crystal ball conversations
Yeah,
where you
right.
don't know, do we invest in it because we think we're gonna need it? Do we invest less because we're not sure if we're gonna need it, but then let it fall apart and then end behind the 8 ball? We don't have the crystal ball, so we have to try to come up with the best guess scenario.
I know,
and there's been a few examples of letting property go and not, you know,
then we pay twice as much
You
to.
pay price, you know, end up having to do it later and it's gonna be, and my thought is, again, it's just me. And you know, some of the department, maintain the property. Maintain it, put the money in as if we're staying or as if somebody's going to stay. Because it's a decent property, you know, for the most part. It just doesn't fit us, our needs anymore, it would fit somebody,
Exactly,
but
that would.
it's.
I think it's less. I think it's less. Trying to say this in a way, I think it's easier to decide to invest in the roof. The roof is clear, there's a couple leaks in the roof, you gotta have a roof on the building. Unless you knew that in a couple of weeks, we were gonna tear the building down,
Right, I totally. agree.
you gotta put a roof on it, cause that is critical to maintaining
It's
the
a clear
building.
asset that you want to protect.
And right, and the chance that we're gonna demo the building seems less likely than any of these other options.
Mhm.
And it also would be years from now. So it's gotta have a roof, like that one I think is easier.
Yeah, I agree. The reality there is, from a market perspective, for that property alone. It's a tough piece to market because it's
Yeah.
non-conforming.
Right. Well, it's not conforming for us, I mean.
No, it would be
I guess it's not
non-conforming for
conforming for
everybody.
everybody because it's already exceeded the, yeah.
But it's a town asset, and look how many
Right now,
things
yes.
happen, but it's, and it always, I would say, it always will be.
And I don't know what happens with a non-conforming property if somebody was to buy it. What do they have to
Be a
do?
variance, it would go.
Do they have to
No, if it,
modify the property to conform to old regulations?
no, it would be acceptable as is, but it would be clearly a non-conforming use. So any expansion is out
Is that a
of question.
question? Right. Same as.
Remodeling?
Yeah.
On the same footprint, that's doable.
Right.
Impervious surface, you guys have been through that.
Yeah, you know.
that.
My vote would be to maintain it for both sides.
Well, I think preserving the building is essential.
The roof makes sense to me, but I like Ralph's idea of the buildings and our bets on the parking lot.
Yeah, and both of the projects in my mind are fairly equal. Again, if you guys walk the parking lot, take a look. It's completely crumbling. It's almost buildings as it is,
I'm familiar.
all over the place and the septic tank issue. So again, in my opinion, it's. They're both the roof and the parking lot are fairly equal and
Well, if there is any good news in this conversation is. The money, the rest of the money for the parking lot's not available till July 1 anyway, we'll be close to getting a report from the consultant.
Correct.
It's showing in year one of 24, 25,
25.
the 35 grand.
Well, yeah.
35 is already there. Well, in year one of the new CIP plan, starting this
Should be
coming July
65 in
one,
there.
is the rest of the money to do the
It should
project.
be 65 and 26, 25, 26.
I don't see that.
It's never gonna be cheaper to do it tomorrow, so whatever you're gonna do, I would say to fix it. And I would say, even if, whatever happens, I'd say that building is always, is gonna be a town asset for at least the next decade. So it's gonna be a community center, and maybe people use the bottom part of that for chili cook-offs and all kinds of things, the top part of, let's say, even if there were no fire trucks in there, I can absolutely see that Public Works could have a plow truck in there or something, if it went that way, that's, it's probably gonna, it's a viable, useful building in a very good part of town. I think you should maintain, that would be my argument.
That's kind of our thought.
Not to be a jerk. But
But here I go.
Why do you give people openings like that?
because you're
Let's start that way.
you're gonna come back at me no matter what, so I might as well preface it with that. Right now, that's a fire department asset. Am I correct?
Right.
That's not a town of Wellington property.
As far as
No, but
legal
it's a
ownership,
town
right, but it
asset.
serves the town, I think, with
No, I-
Andy's point, but you're technically correct.
That's why I said, I don't mean to be a jerk, but that's the reality. The deed is to the fire department.
Yes, but don't, you could never tell me that that's not a town asset.
I'm not
For all
going
the
to.
non-fire department functions I've been here.
And
High school
the
reunions.
discussions that have been had among the department is the asset that is 24 Old Farms Road. And the asset that's 25 Old Farms Road that are both owned by Wellington Hill Fire Department.
Correct.
Would be turned into a town asset, both of them. If we end up with a firehouse on 24, and that would be part of Wellington,
Understood.
town of Wellington. our goal is to get a new firehouse and something we can live in for 50 years, you know,
That-
and be comfortable and safe. So again, we're at this point of the understanding that that's what would happen. It's, you know, everything would be put into a new facility.
Well, I get it all, I just, there was just a little technicality, there could be a hiccup somewhere along the line.
Yeah, both properties are not town property, they're both our property.
I can certainly imagine someone else coming up with that argument and we wouldn't want to be surprised by that.
Nope.
No, I just wanted to,
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's great.
that's all, I'm not really trying to be a jerk.
No,
The process.
and like I said, everybody has said that if we, you know, if we are handed or not handed, but awarded a new firehouse, then everything would be sunk into that. Be happy to do so.
And I look at all this stuff in terms of my own finances. I'm gonna have to put a new roof on the house, I'm probably gonna do the garage at the same time, I can patch the garage forever. Because it's not that important, you know, leaks here and there is a pot, but I'm gonna do them at the same time, because it's an investment in the future, and I think it's the same way with that building. The parking lot with the roof,
Be on that.
and if it's a nice building, then it will become a town, or it would be an asset to the town. Even in its current use, it's an asset. You might as well keep it going. I like that, I've been downstairs a lot. lately.
there's. The good news is there's no decisions we need to be.
No, this
tonight.
time, no, so, but I mean, to the chief's point of having the money available, I think.
Yeah, again, right, same thing, how long before you get a new building?
Even if you start it today.
Yeah, they started today.
5
but
years.
it's still 3
Right,
years,
there you go,
And you still need a parking lot.
fix the parking lot, you know, because you're gonna need it, you're gonna still be working on that building for 5 years.
Right.
It should be fixed.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and definitely put a roof on it.
Yep.
Cause it don't take long before it's gonna fall down if it's leaking.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, we have stained ceiling tiles already and it's been patched.
No, I've been there, I've seen
That's
it
not good.
when we did the walkthrough.
Alright, next topic.
I don't think we have another topic.
We don't really have another topic, old business is
It's
still
all old.
on hold until we get more info.
Just an update on the OSHA, it's done.
Oh, good,
It's all,
Yeah.
it's closed out.
okay, and what was how's morale after all that, is everybody
Everybody's
good?
good.
Nobody got too jacked up over that or anything, or? Good, because that's important
So now
too,
it's stride, did what we needed to do and
yeah,
keep on trucking.
good. We didn't really get anything much back as far as correspondence goes, do we wanna speak to that, that's why if we shined on old business, because we're not really gonna talk about that, because.
There's some email exchanges with.
Yeah,
with
some of his correspondence,
Steve, But.
and then, like, right, and then the only
The
change
same
there,
thing I think that most of you have seen, or slightly different than, but.
but the big reveal will be that if we can get access for all committee members to be able to see what's on the Fitch website as a read only, at least then we'll know what they have.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that'll help me finalize your table that you created there, Rob.
Yep.
Because I know a lot of that's.
I just- This thing I put together, just so I can understand,
Yeah,
because it was all jammed together in one long email to Andy and I. And I was trying to sort it out, exactly what is he looking for, and it went paragraph to paragraph to paragraph, and with different lengths and different spreadsheets. There's 2 Excel sheets that he referenced in the email to us that he didn't attach.
Oh.
I don't know if you've noticed that, I had a little note read at the bottom, they weren't there. Okay, so I haven't got an answer from him on that yet.
There's a lot of data there.
Yes, there's a lot there to digest, for sure.
All right, brings us to item 8, present to speak. Anybody here in the public? We have one person online. I don't see a hand raised. And in conclusion, we have a couple of action items, which we just discussed. And the next meeting would be 24 April 2025.
Which,
Should we have it? We may have more to talk about.
2 weeks. Well,
2 weeks from now. I mean, it's, everybody's kind of meeting out, all the people in this room have pretty much been attending every other meeting for every other department, that's a lot to ask. I see a lot of familiar faces on this side of the table.
Maybe we should just keep the meeting on the calendar at the moment in
Yes,
case Fitch
okay.
comes back with something we need to be
That's-
talking about.
Right.
And then as it gets,
It's easier.
a week from now, we can make a decision to cancel
That's
it.
perfectly fine with me. I just
I'm
wanna
happy
throw
to
it
get
out.
a night back, trust me.
So that's what I mean,
Well,
everybody's,
all of us are.
everybody's very involved in everything that's happening right now, and it is,
The
Reach
nice thing about what we've got set up with our meeting schedule is the links are on the webpage. So we don't have to do the 48-hour,
because it's already right.
Right, just 24.
we got that cleared with FOI,
Yep.
so. It's easier to cancel,
Right.
Right,
because a special meeting would require the 48-hour notice,
Yeah, yeah,
because it's
yeah.
gonna be a different link.
Right.
You mentioned action items, what were our action items out of here? It was to inquire with Fitch about getting
Yeah, just,
committee
getting
member
access,
access, right?
Massaged, yes.
And is that it?
well, and then if we wanted to, we're talking about, it's not really the direct purview of this committee, but talk to Mike tomorrow about the,
Oh,
about the.
I think we should ask for the grant language.
Yeah,
Yes.
so.
Okay, so those we have two action items.
I've got the grant. I guess we confirmed that the departments are separate folders. So then that means read access
For all the committee members.
Yep, free access and
for
the
the
grant
for
language.
the departments both ways.
yep, including the members that are,
And then the
Yeah.
committee members. I look at it as two separate things.
Right,
Yeah. So those are our two things,
Right, well, three things, the read access
yes.
and then two departments and then the
Departments and
grant
Yep,
language.
yep.
Okay.
That brings us to adjournment.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, it's unanimous, we're done.
I kind of
Recording.
Moved it, you were him.
I think it's where to call the mouse is back.
I'm doing it.
Already adjourned.
Steady password.
7:30.
Sorry, everybody. Let us stop.
That's what I got.
Recording.
Let's see if I remember. Just in case you don't get the note.
Right.